Hey guys, we've just rocked up at George's house. We're going to do our first podcast with him. Let's see how it goes. So George, you've gone from being a plumber to building a multi-million-dollar portfolio to losing half of it and to now mastering health, wealth, and mindset. What sparked this big transformation for you?
The transformation into health, wealth, and mindset?
Yeah, so like your journey on how you went from, being a plumber to then building the portfolio and to now going, I'm going to, I have conquered a lot of those different aspects, whether it's health, wealth, and mindset.
Yeah.
And like, how did you come to that? Because a lot of people, yeah.
Okay, cool. So we'll rewind a little bit. So when I left school, I obviously did a plumbing apprenticeship, finished my plumbing apprenticeship, then I got my contractor's ticket and I had these dreams to start my own plumbing business. And I hit a crossroads. It was buy a house or start my own plumbing business. I couldn't do both. And I decided to buy a house. And that kind of set in motion a chain of events that sort of moved me away from having my own plumbing business because I entered the property market. And it was probably 2017, I think it was. I watched a video on YouTube of a guy in Brisbane. His name is Lewis Mocker.
Yeah.
And he took delivery of a black Hurricane. It was a collection video on YouTube. And I watched that video and I had two thoughts enter my mind. The first one is, how the fucking hell has he got a Lamborghini Hurricane? Because he's not that old, much older than me, and I don't have a Hurricane. Secondly was, how can I learn from this guy? He is perceivably above me, so what does he know that I don't? He knows something that I don't. It's an information game, right? Yeah. Turns out he trades foreign exchange, and I'm like, what the hell is foreign exchange trading? Yeah. So that sparked me into, okay, I need to learn how to trade foreign exchange right now.
Foreign exchange is like not shares.
Currency trading.
Yeah.
So currency trading. So, depending on what currencies you're trading, they will offset against one another. So you might trade, say, Aussie CAD, Aussie Swiss, Aussie Yen. Yeah. And he traded foreign exchange, the currency markets. So I had a thought come into my mind of, I need to learn how to trade the currency markets right now. And he sold a course.
And you are how old?
I was 2017, it's 7 years ago. I was 24.
Nice. Yeah.
24. So I spent about a year, 2 years, every single day. It's all I did, all day, every day. I got up, I went to the gym, I went to work, I studied in the morning, I studied throughout the day, I studied in the evening. To be fair, put a lot of strain on my relationship, but I was just locked in. I want to learn how to trade, and I'm going to use that to quit my job. And I feel like in that era, trading was very prevalent. It's become a lot more common now, but at the time, trading was sort of doing the rounds. It was in the trading era. People were quitting their jobs left, right, and center. So I learned how to trade, and 2017 and 18, I sucked. I was crap. I put $10,000 in my first trading account, and I sucked. I lost a bit of money. I didn't blow the account, but I lost a bit of money. I wasn't consistent. And then 2019, 2020 rolls around, and I started to get good, really good. And I distinctly remember Q1 2020, I did my best quarter. I did 20
Just before COVID.
Just before COVID. Yeah. Q1 2020, I did 20% in a quarter, which is pretty good. And I was gassed. I was like, wow, okay, I think I've actually got this. And that was at the beginning of COVID, which then obviously sparked the beginning of the cryptocurrency bull run. Now, I had some exposure to crypto from 2017, but I wasn't actively day trading the crypto markets, and I was actively day trading the foreign exchange markets. And I traded 5 different strategies, and I started to watch the crypto market, and the strategies that I traded in foreign exchange were presenting themselves in crypto. So I was like, huh. So I traded crypto for like a week or two, and I did like 20% in a week, and I was like, holy shit. Foreign exchange account out, empty, everything into crypto. And 2020,
when you say 20%, I'll just put that into perspective. Someone putting money into a bank account, they will get 5% in a year.
Yeah, well, you're not allowing for inflation either.
Correct.
Right?
And
so
you were saying you did 20%.
It was like a week or two. It was my best quarter in foreign exchange, which I think was like 20.5%. I did that in like a week or two, and I was like, my brain just went poof.
Yeah.
And I went, okay, cool. I need to day trade the crypto markets right now. So I did that for like a year, probably a year and a half actually, and then I was managing some money for a couple of people within the cryptocurrency markets, and it got to September 2021. Now, I was still working full-time at this point. I was working in the building industry, and obviously 2021 there was a building boom, so I was doing 50, 60-hour weeks in the construction industry and trading all throughout the day, in the mornings and the evenings. And normally as a trader, your mindset, when you learn how to trade, I should have probably mentioned this. When I started learning how to trade, I realized that trading had a lot less to do with breaking down and analyzing a chart and a lot more to do with what's going on in here. And the beginning of my trading journey kind of started the beginning of my personal development journey. I hit a ceiling with trading and I realized, okay, I got some work to do. I got some personal development to do. I need to work on myself, and my trading increased with the work on myself. So in 2021, I had 2 things in 2 weeks that I missed. I was at work, whether I was in a roof, under a house, I can't remember, but I missed 2 things in 2 weeks. Normally, you never work out the opportunity cost of those things because it will mess with your head, right?
Yeah.
It is what it is. You missed it. But for some reason that day, I was pissed. I can't remember what happened. I was annoyed, and I worked it out. And those 2 things in 2 weeks would have done me a year's salary in building inspections. And I wrote my resignation letter that evening, and I gave it in the following day. It said, look, I'll finish out the end of the calendar year, but that's it. I'm not coming back next year. And I kind of, it was a weird feeling because my financial thermostat was raising rapidly, and that was kind of difficult for me to navigate and manage because of how fast it was moving. Yeah. And at the end of 2021, I obviously left. I took delivery of my dream car around that time as well, and I basically traded full-time for the beginning of 2022, and I was moving into sort of like an actively managed investment portfolio. We invested in a few seed rounds, a few startups within Web3 projects, etc. And that kind of monopolized most of my 2022, and I had a few plans to sort of raise some capital and start a Web3 related fund.
What's a Web3?
Web3 is like blockchain.
Okay.
But basically layman's terms for crypto.
Yeah.
So we were going to start a Web3 focused VC fund, investing in early stage cryptocurrency projects, etc. And I went to a conference in Albania. It's a Capital Club conference, and I went there in Albania in September 2022. And I met a kid there, and we had an interesting interaction, which I'll come back to later in the story. But I met this Irish guy there, and we became friends, still friends today. After that conference, I came back. I then went to a Solana conference, which is a cryptocurrency project, one that if you follow me on social media, I've been a big fan of for a while. And I went to a Solana conference, and while I was there, the exchange that I held a lot of my assets on went bankrupt. They declared insolvency, appointed the liquidators, Chapter 11, and they basically went bang with 13.8 billion of consumer assets on the books. And I was on a plane on the way back from Lisbon when that was happening, so I was out of Wi-Fi on an airplane. And I got off the plane, and my buddy called me, and he was like, FTX is done. And I distinctly remember this conversation. I was like, what do you mean they're done? They can't be done. He said, no, they're done. They paused withdrawals. We can't get money off there. So I logged in, and I'm like, okay, where can I pull money? Can I put money somewhere? Can I move it? Can I withdraw it? Can I send it to a decentralized wallet? No.
So this is all your hard work you've done for the last couple of years?
Correct. So I had my personal account. Interestingly enough, I actually had a cash buffer on my personal account that I had planned to pay for the remainder of my wedding with, and that was 6 weeks out from the wedding. So I got off the plane, and I had this chat with my buddy in Queensland, and he told me, the conversation I just told you. And I kind of got off the phone, and I was like, okay, I need to call my wife. I need to tell her I don't have the money to pay for the wedding, and we're 6 weeks out. She had just sacked our wedding planner as well, so there's a few variables going on. And that kind of set in motion a chain of events. And throughout kind of my trading journey and my personal development journey, I'd sort of fallen into a bit of an environment where I'd placed a lot of emphasis and meaning on things outside of myself, example, wealth, influence, etc. And it got to the point where I was sort of numb with the feeling of what had gone on. It represented a decent chunk of my net worth. I felt as if I'd let people down massively. And it kind of messed with my head a little bit, and it sent me into a bit of a spiral. Now, I ended up borrowing money to pay for the wedding, which we ended up having. That worked out okay. And then at the beginning of January, I had a series of events that were happening to me, and I didn't realize it at the time, but they were obviously happening for a reason to show me something. Now, about 2.5 weeks after the wedding, I got done for hoon loss. I lost my license on the spot, and I got my wife's car impounded 2.5 weeks after we got married. Safe to say she wasn't very happy. So she politely asked me to go and stay somewhere else for a few days. So I went to my mum's house. And my mum was like, oh, I'm going away for 2 weeks, like, all good, stay at mine. So I'm like, result, I don't have to be interrogated by my mum about what's happened. And I called my mentor and I was like, I've got some shit going on. I don't know what's happening, but there's some shit happening to me and I need to talk. And he was like, oh, I'm down at my holiday house. It's about an hour away, on the canals, on the water. Come down and stay with me for a couple of days. So I'm like, cool, go down there. My dad actually lives down there and my dad was overseas at the time. So I called him and I was like, any chance I can borrow one of the jet skis? Yeah, no worries, go get one of the skis, all good. So I drive down there, I get the jet ski, I spend a couple of days with my mentor and we're talking about some things and we spoke about, you know, my relationship with money and how that had affected me, the loss that happened with FTX. We spoke about sort of the rut that I'd found myself in, etc. And I rode the jet ski to his house and I left my car at my dad's house. So I had basically skied to his. And I'd spent a couple of days with him and I left his and there were two options. I could have gone the long way through the canals where there's a speed limit, or I could have come out of the canals, zipped across the ocean and gone the quick way and then zipped back in on the canal. So I went the quick way. And while I was in the middle of the ocean, I wasn't in the middle of the ocean, I was probably 400 or 500 meters offshore. The jet ski died and I was like, oh shit, like am I gonna get stuck here? So I'm looking underneath, checking the propeller, etc. And I managed to get it going again and I was like, right, I got to get back into that canal quickly. And as I was going along, the ski started sort of, if you've ever been on a ski that's taking on water, it will start to plane and it will wave jump a lot, right? Because the hull is full of water and it's heavy. So it's struggling to come out of the water. So it was wave jumping on me and I was like, I'm taking on water. I got to get to land now. So I just full throttled it. And as I tried to like get up and plane the ski across the water, it died again. And then as soon as it died, the back started sinking and going down. And as the ski's sinking, I'm like, holy shit, I'm sinking. So I grabbed a rope, I grabbed my phone and I jumped off the ski and it basically sunk until there was an air pocket in the top of the ski, like 200-300 mil in the top of the ski. And the ski is sticking out of the water. And I didn't realize it at the time, but obviously I'd spent a couple of days at my mentor's house. So I had all my stuff in the ski, my phone, my car keys, my laptop with all my stuff on it. I had my ledger, which is it's a crypto wallet. All the rest of my stuff was on that ledger in the ski. And I didn't realize it because of the panic, but I basically tread water for like 10-15 minutes in the ocean and then a boat sort of came past and I was waving them down. Anyway, long story short, I sorted the ski out. They towed me back to blah, 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 blah.
And that was a good realization moment for you while you're sitting there going, what the fuck?
Yes. So while I was stranded in the ocean, it was a reflection time in the moment I was panicking. But a few weeks after that, I was going to lose my license. And now at the time, I live by the coast now, but I lived in the hills. I lived in a rural area. There's no Ubers in the hills, so they won't come up the hill to get you. So I realized, look, I'm gonna have to start using public transport while I've got no license. So I buy a skateboard, and in order for me to use public transport, I need to go there's a card here that you use this is a smart rider, right? So I need a smart rider. So I go to the post office and they say, we don't have smart riders, you gotta go down the hill. I'm like, okay, no worries. So I start skateboarding down the hill. I went the long way because the hill was big and steep and I was a bit skeptical. On the way back from getting the smart rider, I fell off the skateboard and broke my hand. And it was the first day I ever used a skateboard. I'd never used it before. It was day one. I bought it to get the smart rider to get to the bus station so I could use public transport. And I'm sitting in an emergency and I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like something's happening. Somebody up there is saying, just whatever you're doing, you're going the wrong way, you're going the wrong way, you're going the wrong way. And I called my mentor again and I had lunch with him for like 3 or 4 hours. And he was like, what's going on? And I was like, I'm getting this overwhelming feeling that whatever I'm doing at the moment is the wrong direction. The road I'm heading down is not the road for me. And we chatted about it and it became apparent that all of the things that I place emphasis and meaning on outside of myself, e.g. wealth, e.g. for me, you know me personally, but I'm very into health, right? The gym is a big thing for me. It's a staple of my routine, right? I broke my scaphoid. It's the hardest bone in the body to heal. I was in a cast for like 13 weeks, on my hand. So I couldn't do anything apart from legs and running. And I lost my license, right? When I was a teenager, I had a perception that my parents didn't give me enough freedom. So for me, my license was my freedom ticket. Yeah. That was I don't need you anymore. I can go. I'm going. I don't need your permission. So all of these things that I place emphasis and meaning on outside of myself got taken away from me one by one. Yeah. Wealth, freedom, my health, my physical ability to move around. And now I interpret it as it was taken away from me to show me that I'm placing emphasis on things outside of myself when really I should be looking within to find what I need to find, fulfillment, meaning, etc. And we spoke about it. His name is Mitch, my mentor, and we spoke about it for hours. And he was like, "So what are you going to do?" And I was like, "This is where I will recount the Albania story." So when I was in Albania, I met an Irish kid called Callum, lovely guy. I think he's maybe 5-6 years younger than me. And we were at an entrepreneurial conference. There was some e-commerce stuff there. There was some marketing stuff there. There was some trading stuff there. And I went there with my trading and my cryptocurrency hat on, so to speak. And we get chatting one night and we're at this dinner, and it's like a networking dinner. And we're supposed to be moving around. We're supposed to be speaking to other people there. Him and I sat opposite each other for 4.5 hours, didn't move, didn't leave. I think I maybe peed once, didn't do anything, just sat there locked into conversation. We talked about life, business. He's talking to me about his family, his relationship, some of his struggles, etc. And I just understood him. I got everything that was going on for him. It was like I was levitating above the conversation and I could just see everything that was happening. And I gave him a few tips and spoke to him about his relationship. He had some self-worth issues. I spoke about his business, his pricing, etc. And it kind of it was like this. It was very informal. We were smoking cigars, had a glass of wine. It was casual. And he called me like 2 weeks after. He had a relationship. He was in a 7-year relationship at the time. And he called me 2 weeks after we got home. I gave him my number and he goes, I need to talk to you. I'm like, "What's going on?" And he goes, "Chloe dumped me the day I got home." And I'm like, Jesus Christ, what have I set in motion there or encouraged him to say or do? And I started to apologize. And as I start to apologize, he says, no, let me finish. I'm like, "Okay, sorry, what's going on?" And he goes, "I've been home a couple of weeks now. She dumped me the day I got home." He said, "In probably the last week, we've probably had the most intimate and deep rekindling and, getting back together process. And we've probably been more connected than we've been in the last 7 years." And I'm like, "Right." And he goes, "I also did everything you told me to do in terms of myself, my business, etc." He said, "I've doubled my business pricing and I've tripled my clients. I'm going to do 60 grand this month." And I'm like, hairs on my arms are standing up at this point. And he goes, "I called you to tell you this." He said, "Because I know that you went there with your trading hat on." He said, "And I went there to learn from some of the guest speakers and interact with some of these other people." He said, "But if I'm honest, the most value I got out of the conference was sitting opposite you at dinner." And he starts tearing up. I'm already gone. I had tears in my eyes at this point. And he goes, "I called you to tell you this." He said, "Because I think you were born to do this." And I'm like,
And that's how it all comes.
I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "Just think about what I said." And he's like, "I know you're busy doing your trading stuff." He said, "But I think this is what you're here to do." And I had tears in my eyes. I said, "Thanks." I got off the phone. I walked into the kitchen and told my wife. And she goes, "What do you make of it?" And I was like, "I don't know. But whatever that he didn't pay me any money. We're still friends. We talk regularly now. Whatever that feeling was that I experienced on that phone call with him, making a meaningful and positive impact in another human being's life, irrespective of the money or the monetary exchange, that feeling was priceless." And I got off that call and I was like, I want more of that.
So if we go back to, the feeling of when you went, in the water, you broke your hand, you had your wife's cup, damaged. How do you feel about it now?
It's the best thing that ever happened to me. I would go back and do it all the same again.
Yeah.
I feel like as you navigate through life, there are perceived roadblocks. Most of the time, those roadblocks are there to show you something.
Yeah.
Life waves a flag at you. You're either going the right way and you get green lights, or you go the wrong way and you get red lights. But you need the red lights.
And there's a lot of people who probably can't come out of that red. So when they have all those incidents, they go into another space where it's very hard to actually mentally come out positive like you have. So what did you do after those events to actually, go, okay, I need to get my life back in order? How did you, because, having all that wrong happen to you, lose all that money, have a car accident, break your leg, how do you come out of that?
I think a lot of it was introspective thinking. Like during that period, I spent a lot of time on my own. So I was reflecting on my behavior, my actions, and, I don't buy into the narrative of life is happening to you all the time, right? Those events don't happen to you. When stuff goes wrong, life isn't sticking the knife into you. Yeah. Whether you believe in God, a creator of some sort, some kind of, there is an order to things. It's pretty well known that there is some kind of order to things going on. That order has your back. Yeah. It's not doing these things to punish you. Life doesn't punish you.
You took some time out.
Yeah.
What's like the second 2-3 things to kind of like?
I took some time out. I journaled. I reflected on what was going on.
Having discipline in something is very important. Like a lot of people might not have the discipline to sit down and journal and write and reflect and go, what is it that I did wrong? So you found that was one of the most important things?
Yeah, and I think not playing the victim card. Everybody's very quick to pull the victim card. Oh, this shit is happening to me. No, it's not. Yeah. Whether it's good or bad, or whether you see it as good or bad, it's showing you something. Yeah. It's your job as a, enlightened individual, wherever you are on your journey, to see these things and say, okay, well, what can I learn here? Yeah. This is showing me something. What's the lesson here? What am I missing? Yeah.
And was there anything that you did financially then? So, you've lost half your income.
Yeah.
How do you bring that money back? Like, what's the thinking on that? And, you're pretty much having to start from zero to rebuild that thing. And now, you started your coaching thing.
Yeah.
That's a challenge. Not only you have to pay your rent, you have to pay all these other expenses. How do you come out? Is that because you had a safety net, or you worked quite hard before? Yeah.
To be honest, I didn't have a safety net, and I lost more than 50%. So the pressure on me to make it work was higher, but I didn't really buy into the monetary pressure as such. I feel like money flows to where it is appreciated most, and it flees from where it's appreciated least. And at that time in my life, I didn't appreciate it as much, right? Yeah. Then when you come to lose some, and you get a bit of an insight into what it's like to lose, it gives you an appreciation for it. And I say this to a lot of my clients: money is a byproduct of you tapping into what it is you're really here to do. If you can figure that out, there is some hidden gems in there, and it's like it starts falling out of the sky. Yeah. So all I did was hit the reset button and say, okay, this direction I'm going in is the wrong way. So let me just pivot here. Yeah. Where do I have value to give? What lights a fire in my heart? What inspires me? Yeah. As soon as I pressed the go button on that, it was like I planted a tree, and that tree just bore fruit almost immediately. So I feel like, yes, the financial side of it is hard and it's difficult to overcome that, but you can flip this perspective on it, right? Yeah. If you change the way you look at it, what you're looking at changes.
Yeah. I come from a very different sort of investing journey, accounting and upbringing, probably to you.
Okay.
When you look at investing, how do you look at do you look at investing in crypto the same way I would look at investing in a residential property, for example? I look at residential property as being quite safe, quite normal. I understand it. How do you look at, how do you compare resi to crypto or trading? Because you've been doing it long enough.
Yeah, for sure. I think that crypto is a highly volatile asset class. Do I think it's an asset class that is here to stay? Yes. Do I think that crypto should be the only part of your investment portfolio? Absolutely not. No. So there's been times in my life where I've been too heavily weighted towards crypto, and it's bitten me in the ass. Yeah. So I'm not anti the property market. I think having a well-diversified portfolio in a variety of different things is good. Yeah. But there comes a point where, and I say this to my clients quite a lot, it's actually getting harder and harder to bridge the gap between stuck in the matrix and escaping the matrix, right? That gap is getting bigger and it's getting harder, right? Yeah. It's getting harder to enter the property market. It's getting harder to, earn above average income. Like, granted, there are exceptions to that rule, but it is getting generally more difficult. Now, one of the ways to make that jump easier is buy higher risk assets, which cryptocurrency happens to be one of them. Now, I should preface that a little bit, because a lot of people think I'm just going to buy crypto and sit on it and it's going to, create me generational wealth. That's not the lens with which you should view your, a representative of your assets and your net worth. It should be a highly, focused and very diligent process educated process where you make informed decisions, not just, hey, my buddy told me to buy this, so I'm going to do it. So how does someone do that? How does someone actually get that knowledge to make that calculated decision? Because with property, there's so much information out there, of course,
on how to invest in property, what's the right steps. But with crypto, there's very little. So how does someone, well, for me, according to how I see it, there might be little. How does someone get the right advice? I think you kind of have to, you need your own filter lens when you interpret information, but there is a lot of information online. We live in a digital economy, right? You can basically self-educate yourself with a university degree on YouTube and ChatGPT now. Yeah. Now, ChatGPT maybe not so much for crypto, but between YouTube and Twitter and, actually putting yourself in a place to network with like-minded individuals, you can educate yourself on cryptocurrency very, very quickly. And what are 3 things you do before you invest in a new crypto that comes out?
Well, we would have a bit of a due diligence sheet. So we would go through things like the tokenomics, we would look at the distribution schedule, we would look at who else is invested, etc. It would be with early stage investment rounds when we were doing seed investments, it would be a much more stringent filter process. These days, some of those seed rounds are higher risk. So like if somebody is watching this and thinking, hey, how should I begin my cryptocurrency journey? I would not begin it there, because you've got, okay, there's potential huge reward there, but it's also high risk, right? You can basically, if you can get your head around how to set up a centralized exchange or set up a decentralized exchange wallet, KYC yourself as a customer, you could essentially just dollar cost average a small percentage of your income into the top 10 on CoinMarketCap, right? It doesn't need to be overcomplicated. It doesn't require 10 hours a day. That's what I would do if I was starting out.
And it's not like thousands of, it's like maybe 2, 3, 5% of your income?
Correct. Correct. I would not be going balls to the wall on it because, and this comes back to the trader's mindset, right? If you're not used to experiencing 20 to 30% moves in a day, crypto will turn your hair white in 6 months, right? Doesn't mean it's a scammy asset class. There are elements of it that are scammy, but if you don't have that level of, financial comfort with huge percentage swings on a daily basis, then you will struggle with it. And that's why I believe that it should represent a smaller percentage of someone's net worth instead of, hey, so-and-so told me to buy this, so I'm just going balls to the wall. 50% of my income's going in there every week. That's not a good idea.
So with how you made the transition from, being a plumber to then going into trading, you made a calculated decision as to roughly when you left. I had life do it for me. I was working as an accountant, had a big motorbike accident, I got sacked from the job, and that just meant that I would have to concentrate full time in the business that I had. So I didn't really have the time to make that calculated decision. How would you, so say someone is listening to this and wants to make that leap from working full-time, whether as a plumber or as an accountant, make a calculated decision to run their full-time business or their business full-time. How did you do it? Like what was going on in your mind?
I think for me, my own experience was that September realization of those two things in 2 weeks did me a full year's salary. That was like a light bulb inside of my head of, okay, there is some serious opportunity cost here for me staying where I'm at now. If I leave where I'm at now, the opportunity cost is exponential. And I feel like that comes back to, wherever people are, whether you've got your own business, whether you're learning how to trade, whether you've got, some sort of online business, Shopify, e-commerce, dropshipping, etc. There comes a turning point where, let's say you've got 6 to 12 months expenses saved up. I wouldn't advocate quitting your job just because you get a sale online or, you make one winning trade. It needs to be a risk calculated decision of, okay, I've got 6 to 12 months expenses lined up, tucked away in my back pocket. I'm doing consistently 50% more than my monthly income. I think I can comfortably quit my job right now and sustain my current lifestyle.
It's still a very scary feeling.
100%.
Right.
100%.
So that is just something that you have to make, or that's just a decision you have to make, and that is what makes you an entrepreneur.
And it's not for everyone.
No.
Some people are not meant to have an online business and, derive multiple streams of income and live a very fast-paced 50, 60, 70-hour a week lifestyle. That's not for everyone. And if it's not for you, then, that's okay. But for the people who have got that spark inside of them, the turning point between, okay, I need to do this full time now, for me, that was when I had the opportunity cost light come on of, okay, I'm leaving opportunity on the table here. That was my experience, but something I say to my clients, which is a lot more calculated now. I have guys who, they come to me and they want to quit their full-time job. One of them does commercial property development, the other one is a trader, and the other one does like an online Shopify business, right? So for them, it's very measured, it's very calculated. What's your expenses? How much time can you buy into the future? If you quit your full-time job and you've got 2 weeks expenses in your back pocket, you're stressed. If you've got 6 to 12 months, you're good. You've got, potential backup plans and there's more room to breathe. So if I was giving that advice to somebody else now who didn't know me, that's what I would say.
So that comes down to having that, obviously you've got your principles around how much money you have saved and all that. But when it comes to success, right, that leads to how you help that person think, whether it is their mindset, whether it is their wealth or health. I've seen you on Instagram and social media where you're consistently posting about how you ice bath, how you go to the gym every day, and how you sauna. what does that do, and why does that even matter?
For me, it's discipline.
Yeah. And is that the mindset control that you...
Yes.
Yeah.
People lack discipline. People lack discipline to see things through to the end. People lack discipline to commit to a regular routine. People lack discipline to constantly embrace discomfort and things that they don't want to do. That level of discipline that you apply to small things, just like going to the gym every day, go for a walk every day, spend time with your partner, your family, focus on a work task with intention for 60 minutes. That discipline has ripple effects.
Right. So is that what you mean? Now, if you, as an entrepreneur or someone who wants to switch between full-time work to going full-time business, and you can't even go to the gym every day, would you tell that person, hey, maybe it's not time yet, even though they might financially be ready? Because I look at it as if you can't change something that easy to do, maybe it's not time.
I think it depends on the thing.
Right.
So, for example, some people aren't gym junkies. They don't like it, right? Their thing might be playing the guitar. Perhaps it's running.
Yeah.
Maybe it's cycling. So it would depend on the resistance to what they're struggling with. Where's that blockage? If that blockage is something that is low on their value system and they don't actually enjoy doing it, they don't get fulfillment from it, and it's becoming a chore, then I would move away from that a little bit, because it's obviously not of high importance to them. If they were unhealthy, undisciplined, struggling in every single area, and that was just the icing on the cake, then sure.
Yeah.
But I think it depends.
Yeah. And does that lead into biohacking? What is biohacking? And the little that I know is to do ice baths and saunas and things like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you can explain to us, what is biohacking?
So biohacking is just this buzzword at the moment. There's basically health, right? It's essentially hacking into longevity, refining and tuning parts about your own personal health protocol. But in reality, what it comes down to, and I don't know if this might be an interesting topic to bring up on here, but since COVID, the world has had a bit of a wake-up call, right? So a lot of people have a negative perception about COVID. COVID forced a lot of people to say, I'm actually not as healthy as I thought I was. I actually get sick really easily. I actually, being in lockdown has shown me that I have to make some changes, right? So some of those changes have brought health to the top of the pecking list. People prioritize health a lot now.
Right.
And the reason that biohacking is becoming such a buzzword is because as we move into a more, connected, sort of health-focused planet, biohacking is rising to the surface, and people are saying, okay, how can I optimize? We have technological advancements now where you can run your blood through, it's like a scanning tool that will basically look at your genetic expression, tell you what to take to maximize your genes, etc. We're going in that direction anyway. That's why you're seeing all these health clinics pop up everywhere, spas, sauna, ice bath, etc. It's because the planet as a whole is starting to prioritize and place a higher value on health.
To live longer.
Yes.
Right. Okay. And does it work?
I mean, in my own experience, there's a particular test that I do that I give to the clients. I actually offer this as a product as well. One of those 4 tests measures your telomere deterioration. Now, without going all sciencey on it, basically the end of your DNA deteriorates, and that's what leads you to aging. You can measure how much that's deteriorated, and it'll spit you out a number of how old you are, right? So you get there's an intrinsic reading and an extrinsic reading. Now, they're reversed. So my intrinsic reading was that of a 34-year-old. So externally, I'm aging 3 years faster than I should be. I'm 31. Internally, which is my extrinsic reading, I was aging like a 13-year-old. So I was 30 when I did this. I'm aging 17 years slower than I should be, which is amazing.
Yeah.
That's more important than the other reading. So it does work. I mean, I look at stuff like gut health, habits, routines, psychological stress, diet, things that you're inputting into your body on a regular basis, clean water, clean food.
Yeah.
We live in a very easy to obtain world. It's very easy to do the wrong thing. It's very easy to cheat, to go cheap, to eat bad. It's all at your fingertips now. It's actually harder to do the healthier thing, but the effects that I've noticed from that have been pretty profound.
Yeah. And when it comes to building, a good health system and things like that, you look at how, you live. Does someone need to go to those nth degree things and tests and things like that when it comes to living longer?
Probably not, no.
All right.
If you want to optimize, yes. But the reality is if you move your body on a daily basis, if you can stretch, if you can touch your toes, if you're relatively flexible, if you eat clean, don't eat crap food, don't eat seed oils, be mindful of what you're putting into your body and live a fulfilling life. If you like what you do, your psychological stress will come down. If you can change a few of the inputs in your life that you don't like, you don't need to spend $10,000 on testing to see a meaningful improvement.
Sure. So yes, working out and sauna and ice bath, but how important is the people next to you or the people that you surround yourself with as part of that?
I think your network is your net worth, right?
Yeah.
Who you hang around with matters. I'm a pretty big advocate of that. One of the things that I've noticed along my journey, when I've made a conscious effort to improve my circle of influence, that has had ripple effects in my life. So if you hang around with people that get on the drugs every weekend, eventually you'll be on the drugs every weekend, right? If you hang out with people that have 1,000 excuses why you're going to miss the gym today, eventually you'll start missing the gym. So I think if you're in a place that you don't want to be and the place that you're trying to get to seems a long way away, it's probably because most of the people you surround yourself with are in the same place you're in. And to go to that other place, it's not the only factor, but a factor that will help you get there is to surround yourself with people that are doing something that you want to do. That's encouraging.
So a lot of people, you can have support. A lot of people kind of come and ask and go, well, I am in this circle right now where I don't have the best friends or not motivating enough. And I want to do something about this and change. How does someone build a network? You have, built a very good network of good people around you. How did you do it? Was there a time where you didn't have that network and now you did?
Yeah, for sure. There was a time when I didn't have that network. That kind of began around the beginning of my trading journey. I started to mix with people online, on webinars. I attended multiple lessons a week, which had, a couple hundred people on the calls. That kind of lit this light bulb inside my brain of, okay, there are some people out there moving the needle way more than I am. I need to start making a conscious effort to get closer to these people. So that was the beginning of it. But I think it doesn't happen overnight. And I think it's probably important to mention that it doesn't mean that you just get to cut all of your friends off. Like your friends, I have new friends, I have old friends, I respect them all. I still speak to a lot of different people who I've known throughout my journey. But I think it's a bit of a long game. Like you need to make a conscious daily effort to improve your circle of influence. Maybe a reach out, maybe a DM, maybe a webinar, maybe a coffee once a week. You can't just click your fingers and say, okay, my circle's going to improve tomorrow. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah. So the ways you started were networking, doing lots of online personal development. What would be the third?
I think as you start to move into that new and improved version of yourself, just being yourself turns you into a bit of a magnet. Like I notice this in my own life. I really kind of just say things how they are. I sort of talk about the same things all the time. Like it's kind of just, it's very much my identity now. And that operates as a bit of a magnet. Like people get drawn towards me because of that. People get repelled away from me because of that as well, but they're not my people, right? So I've noticed that as you move towards that destination you're trying to get to, you kind of turn yourself into a magnet and people just start falling out of the sky and they're meant to be there. They're meant to come towards you. So I feel like if you can get congruent with who you are and what you're here to do authentically, and you can start to display that and it becomes your modus operandum, so to speak, you'll start attracting the right people very quickly. Yeah.
So I think to sort of summarize everything that we've talked about, the way that you would build yourself, your personal wealth, which is the purpose of this podcast, is to focus around having good habits, building good discipline, whether it is to go to the gym, ice baths or whatever you may choose for that to be. And the third sort of most important part, the way I look at it as well, is like networking with the right amount of people. Is there anything else that you do on your day-to-day basis or your monthly or year to sort of focus on your personal wealth more so looking at that, net worth sort of figure at the end of every year, or like to sort of, how do you look at it? How do you work on improving it?
It kind of comes down to what my three pillars are, which you kind of touched on already, right? My three pillars is health, wealth, and mindset, right? So as you said before, if you're healthy, that filters into other areas of your life. If you have a good mindset, that filters into other areas of your life. If you're financially stressed, times are tough. It's shit. There's no sugarcoating that. Being in a good fiscal position helps. It gives you flexibility and freedom. So for me, when I look at my own wealth, I kind of track it. Like I have a lot of tools and things that I look at regularly. I check my net worth tracking every day. I look at the charts every day. But if I think of how I measure that in terms of my objectives, I have big goals. And then what I do is I filter those down into small goals, and then I filter those down into daily tasks. Yeah. My big goals is kind of like my horizon mentality. That's the thing that I'm working towards that I know I can't accomplish in a week. Yeah. That might take me a year or 2 years, right? So that can feel like it's a very long way away. So what I do personally and with my clients is I will then filter that down, or we will then filter that down into smaller goals. Could be a week, could take you a month. And that is what gives you the momentum to work towards, okay, actually that horizon thing is coming to me very quickly, right? Yeah. And day by day, that actually changes it from these things feel as if they're something that exists outside my sphere of influence. They're your big ones. They're the ones that make you feel uncomfortable, you know? Yeah. I'd have to get my finger out to do that. But if you can chunk those down into small actionable steps, whether it's fiscally or, you know, a number attached to it, etc., as you start to accomplish them, you get momentum. And then after a year, you turn around and go, whoa, okay, this is coming a lot quicker than I think it is. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. A lot of people think just investing in crypto is,
set and forget.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's
not. You
Whereas you don't do that with property.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
You shouldn't do that with crypto.
Yeah.
You got to run your finances like a fucking military operation. Yeah. Like a Navy SEAL every fucking day.
Yeah.
I think, I probably should have said this and I didn't say it. I'm less exposed to the crypto market now than I was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I'm still exposed to it, but I'm more exposed now to the foreign exchange markets. I have exposure to the gold market. I'm less exposed to crypto than I was before. Do I think it serves a part of our future? Yes. Is it the only part of it? No.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good to talk about a bit of crypto because everyone loves a little bit of crypto talk.
And I think as well, not to downplay the property thing, because property is actually a good way to accumulate wealth, but getting into property now is hard. That's why younger people are turning to more ease of access assets, is because if you're young now, it's very difficult for you to buy a property. Very difficult.
Although I do feel that the bigger reason why they can't is more because they want it right now.
Yes, instant gratification.
Yeah, they don't want to wait. They don't look at it as a 5-10 year plan. Yeah. It's more like I want to buy crypto now instead of property because I can apparently see instant result today or the next week.
Yeah. You can 2x the money overnight with some fucking shitcoin if you wanted to.
Yeah. How is your relationship with your dad? Has he been a mentor, or how do you fuel yourself? A lot of entrepreneurs, for example, for me, a lot of my fuel came from me wanting to be better than my dad. Right. Financially, as a dad, as everything. What was your fuel? Was it your parents or was it something else?
I think my fuel was, I struggled with my dad when I was a teenager. My parents separated when I was in my early 20s. That was a difficult period for me. I kind of had my dad on a pedestal and simultaneously had myself in a pit. So every time in my life I felt as if I was going to surpass him mentally, physically, financially, I would subconsciously sabotage myself to bring myself back down to an area that was beneath him because I had him on a pedestal and he was my hero. So that was a lot of what my early stage personal development work was to overcome a lot of that charge and those limiting beliefs. And as soon as I got that out of the way, it was like, whoom, it was like a rocket up my ass and then bang after that. Yeah. So I think in terms of motivation, that probably started it. And then I hit a glass ceiling, realized I had a bit of work to do, overcame that glass ceiling, and then it was, up only from there.
And how do you feel about that now? How do you personally feel about your dad now? Do you feel like, do you have a good relationship with him?
Yeah, him and I have a much better relationship now. In my early 20s, like I said, not a good relationship at all. But now, we're very close. I have a much better relationship. I don't have as much emotional charges with him. Barely any emotional charges with him. It's a lot better now.
Yeah. And do you feel that a lot of because I often find that a lot of people have that thing with their dad, especially guys. Yes. And use it as fuel. Yeah. And do you feel that, or was there something else that had a bigger impact on you when, to become the person you are?
My drive is probably less family orientated and more just freedom and flexibility. Like I strive to live a flexible and a free lifestyle. I don't like being told what to do. I don't want to be bound by any job. I like to have autonomy over my own life. So for me, it was kind of a question of, okay, how can I bring that into existence in the fastest way possible? And then once I've got it, how can I maintain it? And that's sort of where you enter into the, the dispersing and the generational building phase.
Cool. Thank you very much, George.
No worries.
Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more videos like this. Hit up George as his full wealth of knowledge on anything that you're interested with mindset, wealth, and health.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you very much. I was at one point quite locked in, and I was like, I don't want to stop it because I want to finish
I
this.
told you, you asked me a question about something I'm interested in, and you're going to get a long answer.